Hey friends, quick thought experiment. What do you call a country that is so furious at Japan that it decides the best revenge is to stop its own people from eating ramen in Osaka, shopping at Ginza, and enjoying their first real vacations in many years? That is like getting mad at your neighbor and then throwing a brick through your own window, or yelling at your colleague and then punching yourself in the face. Welcome to China's latest strategic masterpiece, because China just launched another form of economic coercion: tourism warfare. And a spoiler, it's hurting China far more than Japan. Let's get into it. First, what triggered China this time? Well, Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, said something completely normal: that if China invades Taiwan, Japan may act under its defense laws to help Taiwan. Which means, if China destabilizes the region, don't expect Japan to sit quietly and watch. And Beijing reacted like someone in complete mental meltdown. A few days ago, we talked about how a Chinese diplomat in Osaka started issuing death threats to Japan's prime minister. And now, the Chinese government has issued a travel warning. Do not travel to Japan. It is dangerous. Dangerous. Japan. The country where lost wallets come back cleaner than when you dropped them. And then the Chinese airlines rushed to cancel tickets and offer free refunds. This is rage quitting foreign policy. Now, why does China love weaponizing tourism? This is CCP's favorite move. Can't win the argument? Ban tourists. Can't win allies? Punish your own people. Can't win the narrative? Cancel flights. China has used this tactic many times before. On South Korea, for its deployment of American THAAD missile system. They of course used it on Taiwan by banning mainland tour groups. And they used it on Australia by banning its wine and beef. And every time it blows up in Beijing's face like a cheap made in China firecracker. Remember when Australia suggested investing the origins of COVID-19 in 2021? China exploded and banned Australian coal, thinking that this would hurt Australia. It didn't. Instead, China ran out of high-quality coal. So it shut down major factories due to a lack of energy supply, and plunged whole regions into blackouts, left residents without heating in freezing cold winter. And you know my favorite part? Even traffic lights stopped working in northeastern cities because they were still heavily dependent on Australian coal for electricity generation, which they ran out. Imagine punishing Australia by making traffic basically an Olympic sport. So after months of chaos, China quietly resumed buying Australian coal and pretending that nothing happened. Classic CCP. Fire the gun shoot your own foot and blame gravity. And now Beijing is doing it again with Japan. And here's the tragic comedy. China's airlines were already dying in 2025. Years after lockdowns ended, China's big three airlines are still drowning in red ink. Air China losing massive amount of money. China Eastern losing money. China Southern losing money. Why? Because China's domestic economy is hopelessly bad. People are not flying for business. They're not flying for leisure. Half the airports in China look like the set of a zombie movie. Just empty halls, dim lights, few passengers, and staff pretending to look busy. And now Beijing is telling these airlines, hey, you know those Japan routes? The only international routes Chinese people still care about? Yeah, cancel them. Block them. Refund all the tickets. Do it for patriotism. This is the, diplomatic and economic equivalent of asking a starving man to give up his last bowl of rice. And let me give you a reality check. Japan is China's number one outbound travel destination. It's 2 hours away. Not Paris, not Thailand, not Singapore, Japan. Chinese travelers spend more in Japan than almost anywhere else on earth. Luxury goods, electronics, cosmetics, souvenirs, everything. Those routes are the cash cows for Chinese airlines. The only thing, pretty much, keeping these airlines from completely collapsing, and China just order them to slaughter the cash cows with a smile. So, how much will this hurt? A lot. A lot. And here's what happens now. Planes flying Japan routes sit empty, and airlines must offer free refunds, destroying their already declining revenue. The load factors dropped below break even. Travel agencies already on life support lose more commissions. Aviation fuel is wasted on ghost flights. And airlines must rewrite earnings guidance downward again. This is the economic policy written by somebody who hates math. China thinks it's punishing Japan, but the only thing getting punished are China's own companies. Japan wouldn't collapse because 100,000 fewer Chinese tourists show up. But Air China, China Eastern, they're going to bleed cash so hard that the CCP will have to bail them out again. And this is self-harm disguised as strategy. It is China saying, we will show Japan by crippling our own airlines and hurting our own middle class and wrecking our own tourism economy. Genius. The irony is just delicious. China claims Japan is unsafe to travel to. But the real danger is not in Tokyo. It's in the balance sheets of China's national airlines. And plus, Japan doesn't need China's tourists anymore, and was actually trying to reduce them anyway. Japan has spent, a decade diversifying tourists, Southeast Asia, Europe, US, India, Middle East. But here's the wild part. Japan has been suffering from over tourism. Those big cities, Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, all drowning in tourists. Locals complain. Those shrines are overcrowded, and Kyoto residents literally beg the government to limit foreign visitors. So Japan has been trying to reduce tourist numbers. And what does China do? It helps Japan achieve its policy goals. And China thinks it's punishing Japan, but Japanese cities are probably saying, 谢谢 China, please reduce the numbers even more. Arigatou gozaimasu. And the irony here is China's middle class is the real victim. Who actually wants to go to Japan from China? Who buys Japanese products? Who trusts Japanese services? It's the Chinese middle class. So China's message is basically, Japan, you made us angry. So, hey, the average Chinese citizen must suffer. And another reason this will hurt China massively is because China's bullying only makes Japan stronger militarily. Each time China lashes out, Japan buys more missiles and builds another submarine. Well done, China. Again, China isn't mad because Takaichi said something extreme. She said the truth. Taiwan's security is Japan's security. Taiwan's sea lanes are Japan's lifeline. Taiwan's fall would put PLA missiles on Japan's doorstep. And Beijing hates truth tellers more than anything. So the CCP uses tourism because it has no real tools left. And Japan's response will shape East Asia. Japan will hold firm, strengthen alliances, support Taiwan, diversify tourism, and ignore China's emotional meltdowns, because appeasement only emboldens bullies, and Japan is done with that. In the end, China didn't punish Japan. China punished China, just like the Australia coal boycott, just like every failed boycott before. China just keeps shooting itself in the foot. So if this is the CCP's grand geopolitical strategy, the free world can relax, because China is doing more damage to itself than any foreign country ever could.